What's up, guys? This is Somdev Devvarman, and you're listening to me on the Taking It Slow podcast. Something I've really enjoyed listening to before this as well. So if you like it, you know what to do. Subscribe, like. I had a great time at this podcast. Take it easy.
It's another Sunday. You know what that means. It's time to take it slow. और विशु क्या हाल चाल?
ये भाई आपको पता है
नहीं
कि जिंदगी है ना एक ही गोल होना चाहिए कि चाहे तुम कितनी बार भी गिरो लाइक नो मैटर हाउ मेनी टाइम्स यू फॉल यू शुड स्टैंड अप वन मोर टाइम है ना। तो हम लोगों का टेनिस करियर में मुझे लगा था कि हम लास्ट बार गिर चुके हैं। जब याद है कि हम लोगों ने साथ में डबल्स टूर्नामेंट खेला था
फर्स्ट राउंड में
और
बाहर हुए थे।
और हम लोग फर्स्ट राउंड में 6-1 6-2 हार के बाहर हो गए थे। बट क्योंकि उस राउंड में सिर्फ उस टूर्नामेंट में सिर्फ 3 ही राउंड्स थे, तो हम सबको बोलते थे कि हम क्वार्टर फाइनल्स तक पहुंचे थे। और मुझे लगता था कि हम कभी भी वहां से खड़े नहीं हो पाएंगे, लेकिन आज हम खड़े हो गए। We have stood up again.
True definition of living vicariously through others.
Yes.
Absolutely no prizes for guessing. Thumbnail तुमने देख ही लिया होगा. You know who our guest is. मुझे थोड़ा सा unbelievable सा लग रहा है that we are going to be in the company of someone who I've really admired for not just his game on court, but his personality off it as well. He's been one of the very few people who hasn't shied away from calling a spade, who has been real throughout his career and post his career as well, who's been authentic and very happy to say that throughout the podcast as well, we got the authentic Somdev Devvarman who took a lot of time out to chat with us.
Yeah, like he was always inspiring to me. लेकिन फिर पॉडकास्ट पे आके भी he told us that he has been a regular listener, तो he inspired me and मतलब मेरा और पैशन ज्यादा बढ़ा दिया उन्होंने इस पॉडकास्ट के लिए भी। I'm telling everyone now कि सोमदेव देवर्मन is our regular listener.
he likes the stuff we do, so वो meme है ना, so be like Somdev. Be like,
yes,
not just in matters of the podcast, but in general life as well. Be authentic, be true to yourself, be real, man. Can't wait to introduce you to the amazing conversation that we've had with him. So without any further ado, let's dive right in, people. Vishu, when I usually plan an intro about my guests, I try and write fancy things about them, try and write funny things about them. But today I wanted to stick only to the facts. I'll give a fact-based intro for my next guest. In 2007, when he was studying sociology at the University of Virginia, he beat John Isner in the 2007 NCAA Singles Championships. He's someone who holds a 44-1 win-loss record, 44-1 at the NCAA Men's Tennis Championships in 2008, which is still unprecedented. He was a wild card in the 2009 Chennai Open, where he went on to reach the finals. Still the only Indian to reach the finals of the Chennai Open. On his way, he beat Carlos Moya, who was ranked 42, and Ivo Karlovic, who was ranked number 25 at that time, world number 25 at that time. During that run, Carlos Moya said that he was unlike any other Indian he had ever faced. The other notable names that he's beaten include Marin Cilic, who is a Grandslam winner now, Denis Istomin, Shanko Tipsarevic, Marcos Bagdatis, Xavier Malisse, Milas Raonic, Misha Zarev. I could go on. Officially, he also holds a victory over one of my favorites, Juan Martin Del Potro, but that wasn't a match that was completed, so I'm inclined to take that away from him. I tend to disagree with him or argue with him when he says his favorite player is Roger Federer, because I'm obviously a big Nadal fan, but I want to let it go because at heart he's a Red Devil. He's a gold medalist in the 2010 Commonwealth Games in singles, a gold medalist in both singles and doubles in the Asian Games of the same year. He has achieved the highest world rank of 62 in men's tennis. He is an Arjuna Awardee. He's a Padma Shri Awardee. It is an absolute privilege for us to welcome none other than Somdev Devvarman on the Taking It Slow podcast. I am tired with that intro, man. Hey, Somdev, how are you?
What's up, guys? What's up? Yeah, I was tired with that intro too. Next time I feel bad, I'll just like replay that intro. Feel good about myself. Yeah.
Uh, how are you
Doju
doing,
has this
Somdev?
characteristic of doing his intros, and we were in a podcast before, and he did that intro, and the person was like, "Next time I apply for a job, I'll just play this intro."
Yeah, I don't need to make a new CV or anything now. Yeah, man, it's going good, guys. How are you guys?
All good, Somdev. So, what have you been up to, man? Of late, what have you been up to? We know that you retired in 2017, if I'm not wrong. So, since then, what have you been up to?
I mean, 2017, 2016, really, to be honest. I only made the announcement in 2017. But yeah, I mean, since retirement, a lot of different things. For the first 6 months in retirement, I did absolutely nothing. Absolutely, like, I mean, absolutely nothing. I was so sick and tired. I mean, I think people don't realize sometimes how hard it is to be like a professional tennis player. I mean, I was traveling 40, 45 weeks a year in, different countries and all that stuff. And I remember I'd got my own place and I never spent more than 10 days in a row in my own place. And so when I retired, my goal was to just sit by myself in my own place for as long as I could. And that lasted about 6 months. I moved back to India. I got married, so that was definitely the highlight of the last my life, really.
Well, good
And
save, good save,
Good
good
save.
save,
good,
good save.
thank you, thank you. I'm proud of that one. I'm proud of that one. Mainly because I know my wife actually loves your podcast, guys. So I know she'll be listening to this one at some point. But yeah, apart from personal life as well, my friends and I had set up a bunch of small businesses, small startups, a charity, all of them related to sport in some way or the other, and trying to figure out what it is you really want to do. And I feel like, honestly, I'm still kind of in that journey now.
What kind of startups, Somdev? Like, I really want to know, after retirement in a sportsman's journey in life, because the retirement age is like 30s or 40s at max. You retired in 30s. Whatever we hear is like a sports person, and they open restaurants. Like, what are the kind of businesses that you are into? Yeah.
And the other two avenues, probably after retirement, from what we've seen, are either commentating on the same sport that you've been a part of, or maybe get into coaching. So these are the or administration, if at all. If
Yeah.
we have if we have are to go with the recent examples, these are the two or three avenues that we have seen. So which of them have you chosen?
I've dipped my fingers in all of them, to be honest. I can give you like little anecdotes with all. But yeah, okay. To start off with, I guess startups. So the first one we opened was towards the end of like my playing career, and it's called Get Fit. It was doing reasonably well. It's a small startup. Again, the idea was, I felt like our experiences playing sports in school, growing up and playing sports in school in India, was average. Because
Fair.
we were diehard sports fans, and we wanted to play a structured way. We dreamed of playing against other schools, and whatever sport it was, and it almost never happened. And so or against seventh versus eighth versus ninth, just kind of create like a nice little ecosystem. And then from traveling abroad, and I lived a lot of time in America, and you see how big of an impact high school sports has on
Yep.
a society almost, and also from high school sports comes college, from college comes the pros. So there's like a really nice little pathway of sorts. Obviously that was a really, really, really lofty goal, but in one sense it was just to get kids to play sports, because the truth was is that me and my co-founders, who all of us grew up playing tennis, we all grew up together, and we all kind of we felt like a big part of the problem was actually people didn't think that sports was valuable at all.
Right.
And that was evident in like little things that we see, right? So for example, if you're running behind on a syllabus, first thing that gets cut is sport.
It's a sports lecture, yes.
If someone is coming into a job from a sports quota, what do you generally think? Oh, this person is not the smartest student,
Yeah.
he's not the smartest guy. And so
He doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve it.
yeah, so it just felt like the narrative behind sports was not really what it should be, versus in the West, like a lot of times, I would have conversations with other athletes, with like CEOs, and managing directors of companies, and they would be looking up to you because they would see that, what you actually have is a philosophy that many businesses also try to kind of,
Emulate, yeah.
yeah, exactly, emulate. So we just felt that the narrative was a little wrong. So we started off small, and all we wanted to do essentially, just to keep it simple, was to make sure that the kids played sport in an organized way and had competitions in an organized way. So every second week there was something for them to look forward to, and as long as that happened, the benefits of that are so much more than what just meets the eye. Kids out there playing. He or she is going to deal with wins and losses. So how does that feel? How do you get past that? How do you behave after a win? What is sportsmanship? What's cheating? What's not? How do you deal with that? Anxiousness, fear before taking a penalty, or the feeling after leaving a bad goal, or getting along with your teammates, not getting along with your teammates, and that entire growth process was something that was special to us, and that's really all we wanted the kids to experience, and we felt that they would be better off if they did do that. So that was the first startup, and that actually was going really well until the lockdown because now, and all we wanted to do was just get a good sporting culture into the grassroots level.
So on that itself, Somdev, I really connect with what you just said, that we have grown up in sort of the same educational system as well. And where I'm working right now, my job includes encouraging crafting, encouraging creativity in young kids. And I have seen that myself, and I'm seeing that even today in this day and age. The first lecture that gets shelved off if you're running behind a syllabus is the sports lecture or the extracurricular activities lecture, because the parents drive it that way, right? Our parents were more focused on studies, on getting marks, on rote learning, so to speak. Not really holistic development of the kid, not really the decision-making development of the kid, not really the cognitive ability of the kid. And most of the stuff that I have learned in my life, which has contributed to my personality, has been through sport. So I've played a number of sports in my growing years, and the work ethic that you need to put in, the teamwork, the sportsman spirit, as you said, I have learned a lot of that through sports. In fact, that reminds me of a conversation we were having on the same podcast with Mr. Joy Bhattacharya as well. He was also giving the same example of the culture in the sporting culture in US. He was mentioning that there are a lot of local heroes there. Kids have people to look up to locally in their own society, in their own community. In a very small town, the conversations at petrol pumps are about the local sporting heroes. We don't have that concept yet, and what you are doing can lead a lot into that. You can help cultivate a culture of local sporting heroes. Is that also something that you're trying to do?
We're creating heroes, right? Let's just start with that. So creating heroes is something that will just happen as long as you create a sporting culture. So I think the conversation should be a little bit more about, this local school played this local school in football, and like now we've played a tournament, and after 2.5 months we've reached the final, and it's versus these two, and some story or the other will emerge. It will emerge, right? Either a goalie's made a fantastic save, or this guy played absolutely mind-blowing football and scored 5 goals or something. So a hero will emerge as long as you give that person a platform to go out there and perform. Again, where the problems lie is that at the grassroots level, people don't have enough to look forward to. You need to work on something that has a small budget so that people can do it over and over and over again without it costing a whole lot. Because at the end of the day, you're talking about kids just playing sport. It's literally as simple as that. Yep. But we're making it super complicated. And of course, yes, will it help if we have government backing? For sure. Will it help if we have, outside sponsors? Yeah, absolutely. But what the kids really need is just constant events. And that itself will just change everything.
What has the feedback been like to your approach to schools?
I mean, it's been pretty solid. I think we have a pretty high retention rate. I think that's something that I'm very proud of. Do we need to improve on certain things? 100%. But I feel like that journey is also always constant. But in general, whenever we walk into schools, we kind of want to see, how active are the kids? Are they looking at notice boards? Are they, are we create the dream would be to almost create like a house system that people give a shit about. That people actually care about,
Yeah.
and it would be cool to see like if the 10th graders are helping out the 8th graders. That's why I'm saying the most important thing becomes the tournament structure, because kids need to, like, the motivation to improve has to come from them, right?
Yes.
And the best way to put that motivation out there is just create events. After a period of time, the kid will want to shine out, or and if they don't, then you realize that certain kids don't want to play sport, and that's also completely fine, right? But
Yeah.
at least we'll be doing our bit in trying to create a little bit of a culture. It actually bothers me. It bothers me that we're out there claiming that India is a sporting nation, and we're talking about the Olympics and all this and that. It bothers me. It bothers me because in order to fix the problem, we need to first recognize that there is one. Like, imagine if you're a professional athlete with a horrible backhand, and you keep telling yourself your backhand's fantastic, your backhand's fantastic, it just doesn't make sense.
It's like a personal attack.
That's exactly why I use that reference. Yeah.
India is
But,
not
you
a
know-
sporting country, dude. India is not a sporting country. It is
It-
probably
not at all.
to an extent a cricketing country, but it is not a sporting country. All the other sports people who succeed, they succeed despite the infrastructure, not because of the infrastructure.
Yeah.
True.
And talking about the creating heroes, you mentioned a very right point that it's about creating that culture and creating those stories. Because right now the stories that emerge out of schools is that so many students got selected into IITs. Like every
Yeah.
year, that is something that the schools are trying to sell. No school is trying to sell, okay, we made so many sports people.
Like, all of this just points to a certain direction, the way I see it. Like, how important is health to the country, and where do we stand on the health index, globally? And if you look at the answers, for sure we're outside the top 100. I know that. Health and fitness is, in my opinion, not a goal, right? It's a lifestyle.
It's a
Like,
lifestyle.
you want to be healthy when you get older, and that should be the goal. It shouldn't be my knee and hip hurts, so now I'll become healthy. Which is dealing with the problem the wrong way. Now, again, if you're not encouraging your kids to get into these habits at a young age, it's very unlikely that they'll change their habits at 40. Now you do see a little bit more of a fitness revolution coming around, especially after COVID. People are working out from home. You do feel like the next generation of parents perhaps may be a little bit more sensitive towards making sure that their kids do work out a little bit more, and for the right reasons, not just to win Wimbledon, not just to, because that's something I hear all the time. I think grassroots level sport development is a great place
It's
to
a key
start.
part, yeah.
India does need to
Yeah.
become a healthier country, because if we consider this data set, I think every one person out of three is an obese person.
Yeah. I was reading something yesterday that said right now you're more likely to die of obesity than you are to die of starvation.
Yeah.
Which is a scary thought. It's a scary thought, dude.
Sorry for dimming the mood. My bad.
What are the other things
Yeah.
that you've been up to? Let us. I don't want to continue going down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
Then we'll go to Dudju's past. And
some bad memories crop up. Some really bad. So I used to weigh. Okay, this is no surprise to anyone who knows me, but I used to weigh 110 kgs, and I still get nightmares or horror flashbacks of the time when I used to weigh that much. And I've tried really, really hard to come down to a 65 kg benchmark, and I don't want to go back into that past again. So
yeah.
fist pound on that one, bro. That's really good.
Yeah.
Boom. No, that's. Hey, it's all about your own personal little goals, man. Why else does the other stuff matter that much,
Yeah, so you mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned startups. So other than that, you've been dipped your fingers in commentary as well and coaching as well.
Yeah, I mean, commentary came about in 2000. First one was in 2016. I just decided that I wanted to stop playing, and funny enough, I got called on to Times Now to talk about the Olympics, and this was Times Now at the time where Arjuna was in Times Now.
Yeah,
So,
I was just about to come to that. Yeah.
And yeah, that was when it first began. And then over the last 3 years, I've done some Aussie Open analysis and some commentary. Commentary is something I enjoy. Analysis is something I really enjoy. Because I feel like it's a lot of times people don't want to. They almost tell me to shut up. And now I'm getting paid to voice my opinion on like a subject. It's like a dream job for me.
Yes. So even
But
if
yeah,
you go to
so
Somdev's Twitter timeline, whenever a game is on, whenever a match is on, there is constant analysis on his Twitter timeline. He constantly keeps on talking about the turning points of the game, the upcoming important points, the crucial points. What is player X doing, which player Y is not being able to cope up with. So it is a constant analysis on your Twitter timeline as well. So I'm not surprised that you love talking about it so
Yeah, it's
much.
good to get paid for it.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it really is. And then yeah, on the coaching front as well, I was very hesitant early on, to be honest, mainly because one of the things that I felt philosophically had to always align was, it was very important to me that the coach was also 100% on board the same way that the player is on board. Because
Fair.
because one of the things a coach always asks from you as a professional is do the little things right, give 100% into everything it is that you're doing, and then you can potentially expect results and all that stuff. Otherwise, it's not fair to even go down that line. And so my coaches have always been like I've been blessed to have some really really amazing guys with great experiences. So then, if I felt like I joined coaching, if I did it without 100% heart, then it wouldn't be justified to the person I was
Would
coaching,
be fair. Yeah, would be fair.
right? And so yeah, in the meantime, yeah, was I around? Was I there to talk to people, guide people, advise people who were having like issues? The top Indian guys were calling me about scheduling, about dealing with injuries, things like that. Yeah, I was always around for that stuff. But to actually get into the nitty gritty of coaching, it meant that it had to be something that I really, really, really itched to do, and then I would be much better at it than if I was kind of half-assing it. And
So you
so
haven't had that edge so far?
no, so I was actually going to, that's leading to my next point. So a couple years ago, Sumit Nagal and his coaching staff, who actually, his fitness coach was my fitness coach for my entire career. So we kind of really, really get along. They came, they did a preseason, and after that preseason, I was like, you know what, I'm really, like, this is something that I
I
feel
will
like,
get back.
yeah, I'm getting back into it. And it's
Yeah.
something I missed. It's something I missed. It's something I felt like I was fairly good at, and I felt like it was like I could pass on a lot of my experiences and learn a lot more about the coaching world as well. And so about a year ago is when I had fully committed and decided that I want to get into coaching as well. And then the pandemic hit. And yeah, but still I am still like very much into the like interested in coaching and seeing what that brings me. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Something we've spoken a lot about your life post retirement so far.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the decision that you had to make about retiring. You are clearly someone who is very, very passionate about the sport, uh, who's been playing it since he was very, very young. I guess 7, 8 years old. Tennis has been a major part of your life. How difficult was it to come to terms with the fact that you are going to stop playing it professionally? You're not going to do it as a living, and what prompted you towards that decision?
Um, I was really, really intense, man, when I played. It wasn't
Yeah.
easy. It wasn't always easy to kind of be around me. I was crazy fit, my habits, and like I was a very, very intense person, when I was training, when I was playing, and so the things I paid attention to and the ways I did those things, the people around me, I mean, they'll be able to maybe tell you in a better way, but yeah, and all of that stuff was very, very, very important to me. Like if I didn't do something right, if I failed, no problem. But if I kind of fucked up
Yeah.
and didn't do things right and failed, that was not okay. I was getting a little bit older. I had shoulder surgery,
Yeah.
came back from it, broke the top 100 again, and then I started getting a few niggles here and there. I was obviously getting older, and for me to kind of keep up that intensity, that work rate at that level, from my perspective, I was never the most talented player out there, in the top 100. I was good because I was intense. I was super focused, so my strategies were very good. I never had the most amount of power, so I needed to make up for it with other things that I did, which was, discipline on court, understanding my own strategies, my own strengths and
Yeah.
weaknesses, and kind of how to make my strengths work and how to almost exploit the other person's weakness. And this was like
But
a
your serve was
constant.
pretty damn good. Huh? Your serve was pretty damn good. You're totally underselling yourself here. Your serve was very good.
No, it's just perspective, man. It's just perspective, right? So from a pro's perspective, this is how they would look at like me. Someone who's not going to beat himself and someone who's going to make it hard for the other pros to kind of beat me. So what one of my biggest strengths when I played was the fact that I was crazy intense when I never took a second off, and so eventually that started taking a little bit of a toll on me. And to be honest with you, my goal in life when I began was never to just prolong my career for as long as I could. It was never to, nothing against doubles players, but it was never to play doubles. It was never to, it wasn't. And the funny part of that is a lot of my really close friends, they make their living playing doubles, and I have complete respect on that. It's just not something that I wanted for myself. I wanted to break the top 100. I wanted to be amongst the best players in the world, compete at the best events. And if I wasn't going to do that, and I didn't have the motivation to come back from it when I slipped, then it wasn't worth it for me to kind of be 150 in the world or 120 in the world and, continue that path, because I'd already done that. Yeah, at I think 31, 32, around that time, I also noticed around me that like a little bit of my fire, the thing that made me really, really good, was dwindling a little bit.
Dwindling a little, yeah.
Yeah, so I think from a very practical perspective, I kind of looked back, spoke a little bit to my coaches, and I was like, I don't think I can be as good as I was, because my commitment levels are not the same as they used to be when I was 7 years younger. I was much hungrier then, and I'm less hungry now, so I don't see any sense in me just sticking around and switching to doubles or doing something else like that, because it's not really what I've ever wanted to do. I'm still young. Maybe I can get into coaching. Maybe I can get into some other things. Who knows? And so I'd rather take a shot at those things than be average at what I have put a lot of my work and pride into. And that wasn't something that I wanted to settle for. So actually the decision to retire came super suddenly. I was playing. I remember I qualified at the Chennai Open that year. I lost to Rublev, who's now top 10.
Yeah.
And then I went played a low level tournament. Lost over there, and then I was like, yeah, this is it. Like I don't wanna do this shit anymore, man. And then so my coaches said, all right, take some time, take a couple months, and you are a little bit hurt, so maybe once you get better, And then I took a couple of months and never felt the itch to come back. And then since I didn't feel the itch, I was like, yeah, man, I guess this is it. Like, time to move on and do other things, And yeah, at least you look back at what you did and say, all right, well, I gave it my best in the time that I had, and that's good enough for me, Whether I could have been better, whether I could have played longer, all of that stuff. I mean, I don't think it wasn't that relevant to me.
What you just told us reflects a lot of mental and physical burnout as well. To an absolute layman, Somdev, most of us watch only the Grandslams or the Davis Cup if it is being telecast. At best, the ATP 250 challengers. At best, we have a keen interest in following tennis, so we still keep track of what's going on, what's not. But more often than not, the layman would not understand the grind that goes on behind the scenes, which is not being telecast. Can you tell us about the grind a little? You're someone who has experienced that over and over again. You've broken into the top 100 on multiple occasions, and the effort that it takes to break into the top 100. So there is a lot that goes unnoticed about tennis players. Tell us a little more about that, please.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that I can think about is people probably think about it as a very glamorous profession, and I think it's the farthest thing from the truth. The farthest thing away from the truth. Yeah, the top 10 guys, the top 20 guys, are they wealthy and do they have semi-glamorous lives? For sure. Again, this is perspective based, but and depends where your perspective lies.
A person ranked 500 would be like the top 100 players are making money, but who has been in top 100, like only the top 10 are making money.
Right. But the first truth about tennis is that very few people are making money by playing the sport. I'm not talking about government funding and other stuff. It's just about
endorsements, etc.
Yeah, endorsements. I'm just strictly saying, from playing the sport, from prize money that you earn on the tour, very, very few people in the world are making money. And to kind of summarize that, I'd say, if I'm being generous, 150 men and 150 women in the singles, and max of another 100 in men and women in doubles, max. And this is being super generous, right? So a few overlaps, so give or take 400 people are making money. Think about that in perspective to football. You know, the number of teams that they have, the number of leagues that they have. Think about that in perspective with golf. You know, there's the Asian tour, there's the European tour, the PGA, even the nationwide tour in America makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
Or but then again, you know, if you think about that in perspective to like 100-meter sprinting, it's pretty good, right? Because nobody knows who the number 20th fastest guy in the world is. And in my opinion, that's an incredible feat. To be, if you're top 20, you're probably running a sub 10 100 meters, or you know, running your 200, you know, somewhere close to around the 20-second mark, which is absolutely, I mean, you're a world-class athlete. You're a world-class athlete, right? So again, a perspective over here matters a lot. Then the question becomes, only if 400 people are making money in tennis, what happens to the rest of the people? What kind of sacrifices comes with those choices that they have to make, right? So, you know, I was just at a futures event in Tunisia, and there was about 150 players over there. Not a single one of them is making money. Every single one of them is losing money because they've got to pay for their coaches, they've got to pay for their hotels, they've got to pay for, you know, equipment, and then what happens when you get injured? Then you have to pay for, let's say, surgery. Okay, if you have insurance, but you still have to pay for rehab, you know. And if you're traveling with a coach, you got to pay for his salary, you got to pay for his hotel, basically every single thing. And so tennis is an incredibly expensive sport. If you want to actually make that breakthrough, you're gonna need a little bit of financial backing. But if you do make it into the top 100, you're certainly making money at this point. You know, I mean, it's changed a lot from the time when I started. Like, just to give you an example, I think my first US Open that I qualified and won a round was in 2009. So, you know, 11, 12 years ago. And I was just joking around with Sumit because last year he got a wild card, or he was right at the, he was at the end over there. I think he was a main draw guy because they didn't have qualifying, and he won his first round. When I did that in 2009, I got like $27,000, something like that. Now he did it and he's making like, you know, I think 75 or 80,000 for the same exact thing to win a round.
Yeah.
And this year's Aussie Open first round was 100 grand just to show up, right? So it's changing a lot. But then again, it's fantastic because more people having more opportunities to make money from one thing means that thing is potentially growing.
Yeah.
The question still remains: somebody who's ranked 400 in the world, you know, you're 400th best person at what you do in the world, where a lot of people are playing tennis. You know, you're barely making ends meet. And that's why, again, in India, it's hard for players because, you know, most of your tournaments are in Europe and they're in America, or in, you know, some there's like a circuit in Asia or something like that. But you're always having to fly out, which means you're always having to get hotels and, you know, flights and visas. And yeah, the visa is also such a big issue, you know, because like someone like me, for example, I can't be in Europe right now and work. And all the other former pros are there, and they have an advantage over me, you know. But that's fine. I mean, it's just, you know, you don't complain about things like in tennis and sport. You always kind of preach, at least as a coach. So I guess I got to follow my own advice. You know, you control the controllables.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the rest goes on. You know.
Usually, when you were playing regularly, out of 52, how many weeks were you on the road?
Including preseason stuff, probably 42. Yeah, it doesn't leave time for
That's really grueling.
It's grueling. See, I think the other thing that people don't realize, you know, is, let's say I walk into a match and whatever, my ankle is hurt or my back is a little sore, and you know, I've just come from Johannesburg where there is altitude. I'm playing the next week in a place where there's no altitude. You know, the ball is different because they're playing with a different ball.
Yep.
The stringers are different because there's different stringers out there. The food is different, so everything feels different. You're playing in a hot place, whereas you were in a cold place before. But all that matters and all that you're going to look at is the final score line.
Yeah.
No one cares about the other stuff. No one gives a shit. And it doesn't matter. You know, so as a professional, Your job is not to go out there and be like, oh, this exists. And yours is like, your job is almost like, hey, you know what? These things exist and they will make a difference. And how do I make it work for me? And then just go out there and perform.
Another thing that I've really read about and heard about in interviews is the background locker room camaraderie. Uh, so none of us has clearly been to a locker room ever, and so we don't know what it is like to be a part of that. So is there a lot of banter that goes on behind the scenes? So you see a lot of similar faces across every tournament on the tour? Do you develop good relationships with them? Is there a level of camaraderie as is written about? Do you make good friends on tour?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the highest level, at least, there was always a massive amount of respect, because everybody knows that if you've made it there, then people know that like you've had to put in the work. Is there banter? Absolutely. If you put, I always say, if you put 20, 30 guys who've achieved a lot in their life, or 100 guys who've achieved a lot in their life into one room, and just expect them to sit quietly and well behaved, it's not going to happen. So there is going to be banter. There are going to be stories, of this happened and that happened, and there's gossip, and there's little groups formed, birds of feather flock together, that kind of stuff, and you figure out who your friends are and who people you like hanging out with and don't like, and yeah, that kind of stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. I think we're looking to all have a good time for the most part, and looking to achieve something in what we're doing. My coach actually, some advice that he gave me the first time I broke the top 100. I felt like I was the man, like nothing could take this away from me. That kind of, oh my God, I've just achieved my pinnacle and all that shit, And my coach calls me and he goes, hey man, congratulations. I just want to let you know, your shit still smells the same. And and I was like, what a guy, he just burst my bubble. But at the same time, man, like it's so true. We're all human beings, man, at the end of the day. And if you achieve something or don't achieve something, it doesn't mean you are better or worse than what you were, or what other guy sitting next to you.
Who was the funniest guy on tour when you were active?
I actually got along really well with Roddick. So Roddick actually helped me out a lot on tour. When I was first coming up, one of my friends was friends with him. So I ended up training with him a lot. I actually moved to Austin to train with him. The two of us got along really well, and then he kind of retired early. I think he retired before he was 30. Which I mean, looking now, you're looking at Roger and Serena and Rafa and Novak are well into their 30s. So I don't think he retired again simply because of physical reasons. It was also a lot more than that as well. But yeah, I mean, I got along really well with him. I thought he had a pretty good sense of humor, very spontaneous. He had an image almost of being super brash and things like that, which was very, very far from the truth. Because I mean, not just me, and keep in mind, like when I was growing up, I was an Indian guy, right? So like, why would an American guy go out of his way to help an Indian guy? Is like the first question that like a lot of pros wouldn't do. And all of that stuff gets lost based on like one or two interviews that sometimes people give, and sometimes I feel like that's unfair, but I mean, that's also the world we live in nowadays. I guess one interview means so much to everybody, and it is what it is, man.
Yeah, I also read that he ordered pizza for John Isner as soon as he came back from his match with Nicholas Mahou, and as soon as he stepped back into the locker room, there was a pizza waiting for him.
No, Isner is actually Isner is a really funny guy. Isner is a really, really good guy. In fact, like one story that I have with him, like right after I won my first NCAA's 2007, we actually played in Georgia. So, it was in front of his home crowd. It was going to be his last match at home. And, they had just won the NCAA team event where they beat us in the semis. And so we made it to the finals, the two of us, and we were playing this epic match. I didn't get to deuce on a single one of his service games. So that's how dominant he was with the serve,
Yeah.
And I was just somehow holding on to my serve, and whatever. Long story short, we kind of end of the match 7-6 in the third. I win, so crazy battle and like crowds going nuts, all of that stuff. but right as we shook hands, he came up to me 2 seconds later and he's like, "Hey man, listen, it's my last match here, so me, my friends, my family, we're all going to go to this bar, so please come by for a couple beers with all your friends and your team. I'd love to kind of host you guys." And yeah, and we went over and we had a couple of drinks with them after the match, after a really grueling match that he lost. And I feel like that tells you a lot about John
So cool.
Isner. Yeah, that's the kind of guy he is, and
Yep.
these are the experiences for me that are like really super cool, really, really super cool on the tour.
You were talking about Roger. You were talking about Rafa and Novak. Why are we still talking about them, Somdev? It's been decade. It's been more than a decade now. We're still talking about the same top three. As far as men's tennis is concerned, it does reflect a bit on their longevity, their greatness, but does it also reflect on the quality of the crop coming up? We've recently seen Thiem win a Grand Slam, but it's taken him a while. Are the top three just that good? I mean, I have right in front of me the Grand Slam winners list since 2015. I'll just take 10 seconds and read it out. Djokovic, Murray, Wawrinka, Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, Nadal, Djokovic, Thiem, Nadal, Djokovic. So
Yeah.
spot a trend, spot a trend there.
I
These
mean,
players have like 60 Grand Slams between them, yeah. Like 60 Grand Slams divided by 4 for the past 15 years.
Yeah,
They have-
not even
Yeah,
four,
I mean-
not even four. Murray has won.
not even four. Murray won three. Murray's won
Three,
three.
yeah.
Wawrinka's won three. Cilic has won one. Team has won one. And Team won the one when Novak hit the ball, hit the linesman.
Yep,
So,
yep,
I
yep,
mean,
yep.
and Cilic and Del Potro in 2009. That's it. These guys are actually just that good. I think undoubtedly you're talking about three of the best players in the history of the game by a mile. It's not long ago that, like, at least for me, I remember watching Pete Sampras win his 14th Grand Slam and being like, no one is going to emulate this before, and the time before him, I think he broke Roy Emerson's record. I think once these guys are said and done, these three, Novak, Roger, and Rafa, you're going to see tennis very similar to how it was in the 80s and the 90s, where we had a lot of guys winning 2, 3 slams, 5 slams. Jim Courier and Richard Krajicek won one. Michael Steek won one. Becker's
Juan Carlos Ferrero, Juan Carlos
yeah,
Ferrero
exactly.
Leighton Hewitt won one.
Leighton Hewitt won two. Andy Roddick won one. Yeah, Moya and all of these guys are great players. Now the problem is that in my opinion, you have a lot of those caliber players in this current generation. It's just that they're also up against these three guys. I mean, let's see what Nadal is doing on clay is an absolute freaking joke. It's an absolute joke. The guy. Just to think about it, just to like the guy
is inhuman. It is fucking inhuman. You can't. It is not possible to do it. How is he?
Yeah, exactly. So in a sense, you look at this as the evolution of the sport in a sense, right? Because you look at all of these characters who did accomplish things, before. Like Pete Sampras was never good on clay. His best result in clay was semi-finals at French. Semis at the French. There's other players who are fantastic clay courters who were never good on grass. But suddenly, you have guys that have kind of studied all of this and said, I want to be great on every single surface. A lot of things that these guys did wrong, like Bjorn Borg for me would have been. I mean, I would love to see where he was, because the guy won 11 slams, never played in Australia. Lost a bunch of finals, US Open, and then retired when he was 26. Right? So what would have happened if Bjorn Borg had the same kind of motivation in sports science, which now means that people are recovering faster, they are stronger, they are fitter. Keep in mind, I mean, I was listening to an interview of Mats Wilander just recently when he talked about the time where he won the Aussie Open. He said far more pressure was on us, because if we didn't win, we didn't make money. These guys don't have to think about money. So all they have to think about now is, how do we take our games to the next level, literally in every single possible sense. Until recently, you almost never saw the guys having a serious injury. So Roger was playing 20, 25 weeks plus exhibitions and all of that stuff. How do you kind of keep your body good after a 5-set match and recover. And, back in the day, these guys never traveled with this many physios. Now these guys travel with a masseuse, a physio, sometimes two physios, a strength coach, a manager, an agent and all of that stuff. So, that stuff never happened back in the day. So for sure you see, in my opinion, three guys that have really figured it out how to take their entire games to the next level. I don't think that this will happen again.
Nadal's record on clay, he's played more than 100 matches in the French Open, lost twice. That's
Yeah. And to see Nadal like getting cramps and falling down during press conferences and then coming back and winning the French Open, it's like unreal.
I actually don't think we give them enough credit. They're that good because like even Tiger Woods for that matter. There's certain guys, like there's certain people, at least in the last 20, 30 years, you started seeing, because of sports science and also keep in mind, back in the day, people after winning, they used to party and go nuts. Now they don't do that. They focus a lot more on like what's next. You see things like Cristiano Ronaldo winning one and the next day he's in the gym. Or same with Messi and things like that. Tiger, who had a crazy focus. Obviously, I think Michael Jordan was probably the era before that. But even now, you see Michael Phelps, you see Usain Bolt, you see so many great athletes in so many different sports, and the singular focus that they have is probably more than the singular focus that other athletes in previous generations had, because life was different then.
You can't compare a LeBron James to a Michael Jordan. They live in different eras.
No, I think it's hard. I think you can't compare. I think you can't compare eras, because what one athlete had to deal with in 1996 is very different than what the athlete has to deal with today.
Talking about debatable topics, I think one topic that is not debatable is that Roger Federer is the greatest of them all.
We're not even.
You are the expert here, so
See, the color of my background is that for a reason. I'm a Nadal supporter big time, so not getting into this discussion. He's the most graceful player to ever grace the sport, but whether he's the greatest, debatable. Completely.
Fair enough. I'll let you guys stay out on that one. All I'm going to say is, I think by the time it's said and done, I think Novak's going to have the most number of Grand Slams.
That's what scares me a lot. Yeah, that's what scares me. He's catching up really, really quickly, man. He's like a Terminator who doesn't die.
And he's also got a target.
Yeah, he has a target.
And he's younger than these guys. So yeah, I think, and he's so damn good, man. He's so good.
He is. Begrudgingly, I have to say he is damn good. He is.
Yeah.
Talking about the culture of sport in India that you touched on earlier, we see a very, very, very biased attitude towards cricket now, because probably with the advent of the IPL, there is an avenue of a lot of careers taking shape. There is a lot of opportunity for kids to take up cricket as a viable career option. We haven't yet seen that filter through across the sporting spectrum in India. There were attempts with the PHL, there were attempts with the badminton league as well. There have been attempts with the pro volleyball league as well. Kabaddi. Yep. So all of them have run into different challenges as far as administrators are concerned, as far as infras are concerned. You've been someone who's been in the system for quite a while. Where do you feel we are lacking in comparison with the cricketing infrastructure that we have supposedly built up now? The state bodies are lacking, or the administrators are lacking. Where do you think we are lacking in other sports?
First of all, what cricket has done is phenomenal, in my opinion. I actually put cricket on a completely different. What Indian sport is not what cricket is at all.
Yep.
Like, every single kid on the street wants to play cricket for India. Now there's a pathway, there's an avenue, there's a structure, there's competitions, there's local events, there's cricket coaching. Every right turn you take, you'll find a cricket coaching kind of scheme, And there are superstars, and obviously it helps that, we're winning. Cricket also has certain advantages, namely, number one being the fact that there's 10 countries playing it. So by default, if you start playing, you're top 10, right? It's not the same in football. It's just not, some cricketers don't like it when I say that, but it's the truth, right? It's like, dude, you're top 10, whether you like it or not. you know, and you have more money than the other people. So think about the budgets that we have for cricket versus like New Zealand. It's not even close, you
Yeah,
know.
true.
Yep.
True. The
It's
budget, the talent pool, the 1.3 billion people versus very meager percentage of that for New Zealand. Also, the
yeah,
logistical aspect too. So you can start playing cricket with simply a bat and a ball anywhere. You
right.
can't start playing tennis anywhere. You can't start playing kabaddi anywhere for
Yeah,
that
but you
matter.
can start playing. But you can start playing football anywhere, and we still suck
Yeah,
as a nation,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
true,
So,
true.
and the reason for that is just because you're competing against every single nation. Some people ask me, they're like, well, what Gopi Chand was able to accomplish in badminton, why can't we do something similar in tennis? And I think that's a logical question. You have to understand what Gopi Chand did was ridiculously phenomenal. I'm a
Yeah,
huge fan. I think what he's been able to do with badminton, bring that kind of structure into training and that seriousness and that focus, he's been able to do that. And for sure, what he's accomplished with Saina Sindhu, and all of the Srikanth and all of the other great badminton players in India, it's undoubted. Now, can we do something similar like that in a sport like squash? Yes, for me, yes, right? Because again, you're not talking about a country that you're not talking about a sport that's played by over 100 countries. You're talking about a sport that's played by fairly, the Asian countries and a few others here and there. Whereas a sport like football, you can't do things in an average way and then expect extraordinary results. You just
fair.
simply can't. You can't do the same thing in tennis because again, you're talking about competing with all of the every single European country, America, and a lot of the Asian countries are far ahead of us because it is actually a global sport. First of all, I don't think it's a one size fits all kind of solution. Because every sport is different. So that's why I feel like a lot of times you look at the sports where we are very very successful, and then you look compare it with the sports where we are averagely successful, and then you see how global those sports really are, and it'll give you an answer. But yeah, you can't compare cricket with like track and field, man.
Yeah, so that's what I feel as well. So cricket, maybe there is a lot of corruption there. It is not that the BCCI is the most pious and pure organization, but
Yeah,
they have got shit done. They have set out a good level of infrastructure at the district level as well, at the state level as well. So despite the level of corruption that exists, there still are going to be players who are supported by the system. Probably we have not nailed that down in other sports. We have not got the balance right in other sports probably.
yeah. I mean, I can't speak for the other sports. I can speak for
Hmm.
tennis.
Oh, tennis.
I don't know the other sports as well. I mean, in
Hmm.
tennis, it's for me, it's very simple. The guys who've been running it for a long time. You always got to question, their motivations. How motivated are they to succeed versus how
Hmm.
motivated are they to just kind of keep their positions? If you're growing up in a camp with 20 kids and you're the laziest one, well, you're probably not going to be the best one anytime soon.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, imagine what would you say if Manchester United was not doing a damn thing in order to get better, and we were not getting better, and then we were complaining that we weren't getting better. Well, fire the do something about it.
Sack Woodward. Sack Woodward.
I'm down with that hashtag, man. Yeah, no problem.
You have been appointed as the national observer of tennis. Like, what
Yeah.
is the role that you play there, and what are the kind of positive impacts that you can create for the ecosystem of tennis there? Like, is that like just a position, or is there something real going on?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the reason why it was given. The appointment was given. It wasn't just me. It was several other athletes as well. Um, there were instances where we were called upon, and we were asked our opinions, and I gave my opinions, although some of them fairly unpopular.
Yeah.
And I wasn't invited back to a few other meetings here and there, and that's okay. Like I said, I'm not going to sit around here and glorify people that have done the job that they're supposed to do. It's definitely not my style, and I felt like if there were places that we were lacking, then there were places that we were lacking, and the way to not lack in them is to put attention and actually get better. And I'm not sure that administrators really like that approach. It's there's a little bit of over glorifying over there that I'm not really a fan of. So why are we going to sit over here and praise
Wow.
people for putting up schemes that actually make no difference?
genuinely talking to you or reading your Twitter feed or listening to your interviews in the past as well feels like a breath of fresh air. Feels like an actual
Yeah.
unprogrammed human being is talking to us or speaking to us, communicating with us. I mean, I still remember when the entire uh, Toolkit fiasco was taking place. You had put out a tweet, "At least be original." I
Yeah.
legit laughed out loud. This is what our sporting personas should be like. Anyway, that is a different topic of
Should at
discussion
least be
altogether.
original.
They should at least be original.
Yeah.
Massive, massive
Well,
kudos to you for that.
thanks. Yeah, it seemed a little strange, didn't it? Just like a bunch of people writing the same thing. I was like,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
okay if you support it.
yeah, man, it just seemed a little strange. That's it. Like, how could you be proud of something like that, man? One of my big problems with celebrities in India is that they behave like celebrities. They behave like privileged people and things like that. And again, like, you're just a normal person with another opinion. Like, it's not better than mine, it's not worse than mine, it's not more important than mine. Like, it's one thing for maybe, listen, you know what? Maybe if they all got on a Zoom call together and they discussed what was going on, totally we believe that this is something, and then they write their version of like their version of the truth. You can be like, you know what? Fine. But a copy paste, a copy
Yeah.
paste just seemed, yeah, man. It's not actually. After that, I've told myself, and like at least in my social media accounts, like I want it to be fairly authentic. I don't wanna like whatever. At least that's how I feel right now. Let's hope that doesn't change in the future. Or maybe it will. Who knows? But at
No,
least
yaar. Let
try
it
and
be
be
the way it
yourself.
is. Please let it be the way it is right now. It is a treat to go through your social media accounts. It is a treat to
you
interact with
know,
you this.
I certainly didn't feel like I went through 2020 with using the word amicable, and then suddenly in one day it's like boom, like what the hell, what the hell just happened? Is it that easy? Is it that easy to change people's minds? Like, is it that simple to get into somebody's conscience? Like, I don't know, man. And why? Why is it so important for everybody else to feel like they are on board and support? Like, why? Why is it wrong to disagree? Like, I don't know.
You have asked a burning question. Why is it wrong to disagree? If so, that can be an episode of another podcast in entirety. Why is it wrong to disagree?
Yeah, we will have to
Yeah.
bring in Pranay for that.
Yeah. I'm telling you, guys, I've had so much fun, man, listening to your podcast. It's been really, really, really good.
So that
Yeah.
ties in perfectly with the last segment that we have.
Okay.
We have something that we call slow takes. It is the
Okay.
exact opposite of what a rapid fire would be. We don't want a
Okay.
quick and snappy response. We want a thought out, slow or methodical response from you.
Okay.
We all dream of what you have been through. When we started playing tennis, we dreamt of playing against Roger Federer, playing against Rafael Nadal. You've done that. Tell us what it was like facing Roger, facing Rafa. We'll just sit here and fanboy out.
Yeah.
So I played all of the big four, and every single time they got really damn lucky, man. I can't tell you shit. So I never managed to win a set. All luck, all luck. The first one I played was Roger. First time I played Roger was in Dubai, and the funny thing is I got a wild card into Dubai last second because like one of the top players didn't show up, and Mahesh was, I mean, well connected in that circle, so he talked to the tournament director and kind of got me a wild card. Funny enough, we were all in Goa celebrating Hesh's wedding. He was getting married to Lara. So all of us were there, and Mahesh is like, "Do you have your rackets and stuff?" I said, "Yeah, I'm in good shape. I'm working out. I've been playing good." And he's like, "Okay, well, you got a wild card into Dubai." So I said, "Great. So I'll come there. I'll make sure I stay in reasonable shape during the wedding, and we'll move on. We move to." So then wedding finishes, all the celebrations, all of that good stuff. All of us get on a plane. Leander, Mahesh, Rohan, myself, four of us, we get on the plane. Lara, of course. And as soon as I land, my phone blows up. And I just got all of these messages, and they're like, "You're playing Roger." I'm like, "Oh, wow." great time to play Roger right after a wedding. I felt okay, and actually that match I didn't feel like I played bad. One or two shots here and there for sure, but Roger just absolutely mothered me, man. He was doing things to me that I've never ever felt on a tennis court before. And yeah, I mean, those highlights are still on YouTube. I didn't, by no means did I play bad. I played reasonably well, and I had zero chance. 6-3, 6-3. 6-3, 6-3 is a beating. It's a like if I win a match 6-3, 6-3, me and my coach are not discussing it a whole lot, you know. So so anyway, so that finished. A few months later, playing Rafa at Indian Wells. And I think Rafa was one in the world at this time. He was the number one seed, and I just like this is the life of a tennis player that nobody understands, right? So we're playing Davis Cup against Serbia. Novak is not playing. Keep in mind the week before we're playing Dubai. So we all went. We played Dubai. Leander Mahesh didn't show up to Davis Cup for whatever their reasons were. And Rohan and I actually really tight, still really tight. So we're in Dubai. We go to Novi Sad, small place in Serbia. So first day, Rohan plays a crazy match. I mean, against a top 20 guy, Viktor Troitsky at the time, and he loses in 5 sets. I play a top 20 guy, Tipsarevic. I beat him. Next day is what Leander Mahesh is supposed to come and do, is play the doubles. And they're not there, so Rohan and I go and play doubles, because at the time it was Yuki and Karan Rastogi who were, Karan and I grew up together. Yuki was a kid at the time, but the best doubles option was still Rohan and myself. We lose in 4 sets, and then I lose in 3 sets to Troitsky. So we lose the tie 3-1. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sunday late or Monday early, we get on a flight from Serbia to Palm Springs, right? So, I mean, I don't know how many freaking hours this was. We land in LA. Rohan and I get on a car and we drive our asses to Palm Springs. Tuesday morning, playing a first round qualifying match. Wednesday, I win that. Wednesday, play second round. Thursday, I played. Friday, day off. Saturday, I played. Sunday, day off. Monday, I played. I won. And then now again, I'm playing on Wednesday. So I've had zero time to think, recover. My body at this time, I have no clue what's going on, man. Like this is, and this is why I have so much appreciation for what these guys do, because after that time, you are like physically, mentally, emotionally just done. It was by far my best result in the Masters series to make fourth round. We beat Baghdadis there, beat Melis, and then now I'm playing Rafa in the fourth round. And before the match, I was hanging out, and I was friends with Novak at this point, Roddick, and these guys kind of told me, they're like, there's a couple things you got to understand about Rafa, and he doesn't do this out of like selfish reasons, but he does it because this is his routine. So when you go out on a warm-up court, don't expect him to kind of be nice and hit balls back to you. He's doing his thing. Before a match, when the match is called, most players just go out there and they're ready to stand and they go on court. Rafa is still doing his hair, he's taping his fingers, he's getting his shit done. So you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, which I also experienced with Roger a little bit, but not to the same extent as with Rafa. And then you go on court and you put your stuff down, and Rafa is still taking care of his bottles, and so he's in his own world doing his own thing. Yeah. But when I spoke to Novak, one of the things he said was like, if you're going out against the best players in the world, if you don't have a belief that you're going to beat them, you're not going to beat them. So have a game plan, have a belief, and go out there and try and execute what it is you're trying to do. And he gave me a couple pointers here and there. And right off the bat, I felt with Rafa, obviously game styles matter a lot. Matchups in sport, matchups matter a lot.
Yeah.
And so I always felt like Roger was a bad matchup. I mean, obviously, listen, first things first. No matter what matchup, what court, there's very little chance that I'm going to trouble these guys, let alone beat them. But with Rafa, I felt like, I had a little bit more time. It was pretty windy and I was good in the wind. So it was a little bit more unsettling for him. And, he wasn't playing his best tennis at the time. And, so I actually felt really, really good. I went off to a good start, broke him in the first game. And from that point on, I never... Like with a lot of the other guys, I always felt uncomfortable on the court. super uncomfortable. You know, with Rafa in 2011 Indian Wells, I never felt that uncomfortable. I knew that like if I left the ball in certain places, there would be no chance I was winning that point. But there were also other things that I could potentially do that would, give me a chance. And I think I got to 5-all in the first set, 5-all. I had a 15-30. That's a chance. He was serving 15-30. That's a half chance for me, the way I look at it. And then after that, I lost the first set. Second set, I think I was playing well. The belief had set in. I knew how to win the points that I needed to win. Did really well. Got to 4-all, and this is actually hilarious. So 4-all, Rafa serving love 15, and we played this crazy point. A bunch of rallies back and forth, sideways, this, that, and I end up hitting an unbelievable forehand down the line winner. And I give it a huge come on, and I'm going mad. I look at my coaches, they're having a great time, and and now I'm like, okay, I've got a chance. 4-all, love 30, he's serving, I've got a chance. From 4-all, love 30 till the end of the match, I didn't win another point. Not another point, man. He kicked my ass. And after that, I was so exhausted after that match. I was just so done, because again, played in Serbia, emotionally spent, and then taking that flight, coming all the way to Palm Springs and playing all of those matches, winning and losing, and in a tough one. And you're so emotionally spent, like you feel like you can't get out of bed for like 2 days straight, 2-3 days, and the third day when you come out, you feel like you're a broken human being.
Yep.
And that's how I felt after. Yeah, so that's my story playing Rafa.
I'm still getting goosebumps right now. Listening to that.
Like getting beaten from Roger Federer must be like undertaking beating you at WrestleMania. Like you must still feel good.
You played it.
Yeah. No, and the second time was much worse because the first time I went in, I played him and I felt like, let's see what it's like. I don't know if I have a chance. I just came from a wedding, whatever. The second time I played him was after surgery, so I was like coming back. So I was in the qualies at the French, played pretty good, qualified. Played the Spanish guy first round, who I played really well again. I win this one in straights, and now second round playing Rog. So. And now this time I'm feeling good about my game. There's no wedding, there's no excuse. I'm playing good. And my coach is telling me you're playing solid. At the time we thought Roger was getting old. Like little did we know. And yeah, and then I go in, dude. This guy just. The highlights of this were on YouTube, and they were so humiliating, dude. They were so humiliating. Like the guy was hitting winners. For me, the ball used to be so far away. I had no chance of getting it, And like the guy fake dropped me. Like he would show me a drop shot. I would run forward, and then he would fake me and beat me the other way. And basically just made me a popot for like the longest time, and and then I literally felt like I couldn't play tennis after that match, And then I went back and I was like, has he done, I'm not, for sure I'm not the only guy who's done this
Only
too,
one, yeah.
And then I look back and I look at his results against guys who are much better than me, top 20 guys, the guy who beaten Andy Murray 6-love, 6-1. The guy's he's beaten the crap out of Novak and Rafa on a few occasions. But he's beating great players that are ranked 25, 30 in the world, 2-1, 1-1, 1 in love. And this is also the reason why I'm saying, for me, Roger is the greatest, because it's not just about the numbers. The things that the guy can do with a tennis ball and the elegance that he can do it with is something that the sport has never, ever, ever, ever seen. It's just a little bit of magic that comes out from this guy's hand. When you're in China, the Chinese guys just literally worship this guy. And they were talking about, when he's hitting the ball, he has zero facial expressions. Versus it's almost like he's in a meditative zone. He's for sure feeling the pressure a lot of times because he's lost from match points up, he's lost from winning positions. But he's always doing it with a certain amount of elegance and style that the other guys can't really match up with, Yeah, and I think that's what's made this guy have that kind of persona, that kind of enigma every time he's out there, and that's why for me he's the greatest. But listen, I can't argue with numbers and all of that stuff, and I respect 1000% respect people who believe the same about Rafa and Novak because trust me, they're all that good. Like they're that good. Yeah.
They're all absolute legends of the sport. Absolute legends. Yeah.
Yeah, who would have thought they can make Pete Sampras look average?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That's perspective.
That's when you know.
That's
After
perspective.
Yeah.
listening to the story, I feel like, is there a support group of people who have been foiled by Roger Federer after losing a match? You come
There should
back
be.
into that.
There really should be. Yeah.
Somdev, thank you for taking so much time out. It was lovely speaking to you, man. I mean, I still
Yeah.
can't believe that we had this opportunity to speak to you, and it was very kind of you and very cool of you to take so much time out, and very very cool of you to
I'm
take
still
so
having
much time.
goosebumps here. I'm having goosebumps. I talked to an international tennis player.
No, don't. All that shit still smells the same, man. Don't forget that.
that has to be a t-shirt. That has to be a t-shirt. Yeah.
I had a great time. I really did, man. Again, like I said, because you guys, I'm going out and listening to a lot of the other stuff that you guys have now created. And also, listen, first thing is, I think you guys are a little over humble. There's a lot of podcasts that I heard where you're like, I don't know what it is we're trying to do. Let's see. I have no clue in life. I have no goals. What am I supposed? I'm like, that's all fucking bullshit. Let's call a spade, okay? Because I do think that having podcasts like this, more than anything, if a genuine audience is looking to listen to something, it's nice because especially in our culture, you either listen to somebody that's just put in so much extra masala and so much extra bullshit that it becomes a Kapil Sharma show where it's not genuine anymore. It's not, and like a person who is looking for genuine is going to be like, dude, like I don't want to listen to this shit. It's not real. And so for anybody who's out there looking for something that actually a real conversation, I think this is the place to be. And so you've given me that, so thanks for that. And dude, if there's because I honestly think we've just touched the tip of the iceberg. There's literally so many fucking things we can talk about, from whatever, man, from politics to administration to way things are run to things people say and do and this and that, and like that's what a conversation's all about. So if there is a option for part 2 in season 2 or season 3 or whenever that is, I'll be happy to do it, man. So thanks for thinking of me on this one, man. And also I knew 100% that you guys were going to be well prepared because I've heard a few of the others. So that's why I was like super looking forward to coming to this one as well. So guys, great job from your part as well, man. You guys are doing something special, and I really enjoy listening to you guys. I guess Instagram is the easiest way to stay in touch, huh?
It is. We will stay in touch. We will stay in touch. Yeah.
All right,
Thank you for
take it
taking time
easy.
out, Somdev. Very
Yeah.
cool. Very cool of you to do this. Very cool.
Yeah, man, take it easy.